you. Awesome. Appreciate you.
Amazing. So I'm so excited to hear a couple of things about like how you went through your time last few weeks since we last spoke. I know one of the things we said was um, to like set some intentions before calls, or sort of take that little few minutes breather in between some of the calls you had. I'm also interested in, if there's something going on for you that you want to talk about, or the strengths work, how you're going with that. Lots and lots of possibilities to go down today.
Okay, so since our last call, so I started to try to do that as far as setting the intention,
Yeah.
and it has helped a lot actually.
Good.
It's just I don't know. It's just an awareness that I have before going in, even with calls, not just necessarily Zooms, but
Mm.
phone calls with, like I spoke with one of our coaches this morning, and before I called her, I set the intention of, service. I want to serve her. How can I do that? And that's what that then I called her, and that those kinds of things are actually helping. I feel
Good.
like so. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. Like, can you feel just a bit of like the difference in sort of doing it when, or like not doing it to now you doing it? Can you see the difference in whether it's the energy on the calls or the outcomes of the calls? Are you feeling the shift or the difference?
Yeah, I feel like there is, and instead of just seeing what happens, you know, picking up,
Right.
calling, see where this goes. Setting the intention seems to help guide me,
No, it's great.
in listening and whatever they need. How can I serve them? Kind of, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of
That
what
certainly
I've
does.
noticed. And I'm not consciously thinking all the time, okay, how, but by setting that intention, it feels like that's just internally, that's kind of where I'm going.
It just
Um,
happened. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if it does or it doesn't, but it seems like it is.
Yeah. And no, I think it really does. Like I do believe in those things because I think when we show up where we've set an intention, just the energy in our body feels different. So what we project, what we then talk about, and but how we talk about it, how we listen to those people. Um, I do. I think it does. It makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, it feels like it does, but
Good.
I don't. I mean, it's not really measurable. So how? I
Right.
don't care if it is. I feel better doing it, um,
Yeah.
though I
Well,
can't.
that's the measure. That's almost the measure because if you like last time we spoke, you were like, sometimes I don't listen as much on a call, or I like I'm going from one call to the other. So I know you were saying that sometimes you just feel like you're racing from one thing to another, but the measure is, are you now calm
Right.
between the calls? Are you now more present on them because you've had the time in between, even if it's 60 seconds, because you're a bit calmer in between because you're taking the time to set the intention. And it's a practice, right? Like sometimes I forget to set intentions when I'm going from one thing to another, but when you go back to it, I do believe that the measure can be, even if it's not tangible, it can be in, you know what? I really believe I helped that person today the best way I could.
Right.
I felt much more present than the last time we spoke. That's a measure because that's progress.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. Even
Yeah.
though, like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you're right, and I believe in that. I just, it's tough to measure sometimes. Do you know if it's working or not? So that's
Yeah.
so.
And I think it's right because like I have seen so I've got your strengths, but I just pull out the top 10.
Right.
Um I sort of write down the top 10. So and
Okay.
I can now see a lot of why even that was important to you, like relator being your number two.
Hmm.
I can see that when that came up in our first call, that you wanted to be more present and give more attention and be more of service. And you're already in so much service to people. But I can see that now with the connectedness and the belief and the positivity in your strengths. I can see how that rose to
Oh,
the
so you
top.
got him. Good. Okay. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, so through some journaling, I'll just share this a little bit with you. So through some journaling, this is interesting. And I, two things have come to my mind. I don't know, like an awareness of them. So number one, I don't care about money. I know that's, and I don't mean that in like, oh, I don't need money. What I mean is, when we were journaling on values, right?
Mhm.
As part, so we were journaling on values and what you value most, and those kinds of things are kind of, it's real important on how we, that's part of our inner game. And what I became, what I began to realize is I used, and service was the other one. So those two things, when I was younger, were a lot more prevalent in my character and my whys when I was doing things for whatever it was. But I knew, however, over time, I don't know why. I feel like it's just a process I've allowed myself. But society, I'm taking responsibility, but societal pressures,
Yeah.
okay, to make money, take care of your family, all these things I've allowed. Even my spouse, I feel like money is more important to her than me. That's not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah.
Um, so I've allowed myself to kind of be. I feel like my values have shifted, and what I'm learning through the journaling is if I can line up what I value most with, and those are the things I value most. And since I've come to that realization, I mean, it's only been a couple of days, but since I've come to that realization, it's made a difference, in how I show up just in general. And I don't mean just like this or on a Zoom call, but just in my life or and
Mhm.
so that's interesting. That's just something I wanted to share with you because that's new. Um,
Yeah.
and what I recognize is when I was younger, I'm not that I'm unhappy, but I was happier and I was less worried about what others thought and all those things. And I feel like a big part of it was because I was living and being guided by my values. And over time, I've allowed myself to shift and
Right.
allow societal values to kind of dictate what's
Mm.
important to me, and through this process, and again, this didn't happen 2 years ago. This isn't brand new. So through this process, I have recognized that these are like my core values, like
Mhm.
in my heart. And if I can stay in line with them, regardless of what, I mean, yeah, but here's what I know is with what we do, if
Yeah.
we help enough people get what they want, we'll get what we want. So that'll take care of itself. And I don't just mean with what we do, with what anybody does.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
serve others, you're putting it out there and it's going to come back.
Yes.
So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because it's kind of new. I'm still trying
Yeah.
to figure it out a little bit, but anyway, so there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that because that's that's a big breakthrough already. Like that now it's the awareness and the recognition of these things. And like you said, it's not that it's wrong. Things are the way they are. But now that we have them in our awareness, we're like, okay, what do I choose to do with them? Or who do I need to become to get more to bring more of that along with me? And I could not resonate enough. And this is what I love about your thinking, Rob. And I thought this even the first time we caught up, the way you're like, if I serve others, like it comes back. And it doesn't come back. And I know you're not saying that. And I think it sounded far more selfish when I said it, but it's not in a selfish way, but you genuinely understand that, I guess, that universal human principle of the way the world works is
Yes,
like our purpose for being here is to give and serve and to give to others. And that fills our cup just as much. Like
right.
it's really, really nice to see and hear you speak like or to hear anyone speak like that. And sadly, I don't hear it probably as often as I'd love to. So I just really want to thank you for that because I think I even knew after we caught up just that first time, I learn a lot from our sessions together because you bring things back into my awareness too.
And I just feel like that's what we attract.
Yeah.
And so that's what we will attract.
Yeah.
and we're gonna, in a higher vibration or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
that's just what I feel like.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't even care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I
But
know.
I believe that it will. But that's not why we do it, right? I'm not
That's
not doing
right.
it to get something, but at the end of the day, I just believe that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Because like what we appreciate appreciates, right? If you
right,
appreciate others, like the appreciation does come, and appreciation in the sense of you can help more and do more, but then you'll also just as a human, you'll just feel full, like you'll feel good. So I really, really love that. And I'm so glad that that's something you're working through with the journaling because it is new. And I'm glad that you're still leaning in and diving in because I think when new things come up, one of two things can really happen when people start to journal and go deep and ask some hard questions. And we're asking some hard questions here. And I think some people either, and this sounds like what you're doing, dive even deeper and go further in and go, okay, this is new. Some of it might be uncomfortable, some of it might be a bit messy at times, but I can see where it's going. And I'm going to follow the trajectories of everything that belongs to that. And some people kind of start to dive, feel these new things, and then, get a bit of an electric shock or get a bit freaked out a little bit and try and pull back instead of leaning further in. And so I can tell that you're leaning further in because you're like, this is new. I'm still working through it, but I'm doing it, I'm going there. And so thank you. I really want to honor that in you because that's where the breakthroughs happen. And these shifts that it sounds like you're having are really beautiful to see.
and here's what I think. Like 2 years ago when I did it, I kind of put the brakes. Like I kind of wrote down almost like what society wanted me to. I know that sounds bizarre. Nobody else
Right.
will read.
No, I get it. I get it.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I continue to allow myself to stay in this box because I wanted to make money and whatever it was, and so I didn't really listen to what was coming up. I just wrote down what I felt like was supposed to be written down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. And how do you feel now? Like, because you also have the gift, I guess, of having tried, like having done this before, and your awareness and knowledge of saying, I was still trying to stay in this box. How does it feel different? Like, how do you feel now? Because you've become a different, we always put focus on who are you becoming? Who do you
Right.
need to become rather than what you need to do?
Right.
Because the journaling is the doing, right? But it's who you become in the process
Right.
is what truly matters. And so I can really hear the difference in the way you're talking about when you did it 2 years ago to now. What do you think's been the biggest shift there?
That's a good question. I don't care. What I mean by that is I don't care what comes up. Um, I've done a lot of tried to do a lot of things to improve myself over the last couple of years. Um, and so whatever comes up comes up.
Yeah. Oh, I love
And I feel like that is where I'm at versus
it.
I don't know, but I also feel like I got buy-in from my wife too. I feel like we're
Got it.
doing it together. And so as she grows and I grow, I feel like it perpetuates one another.
Yeah.
We're not in the same place and more than likely we never will be.
Yeah.
However, as she grows and I grow, and we kind of propel one another or
Yeah.
give each, lean on one another, whatever you want to use. But so now I feel like I don't care what she thinks or what others think, like it's just coming up and I'm just allowing it to flow on the paper kind of thing. I don't know.
That's so beautiful, honestly, if I can say that. It's so beautiful to hear that. And I know one of the biggest things, and comes up in lesson one every time, and it comes up again in some of the later lessons around the pleasing and proving.
Hmm.
And some of the things that hold people back the most ever in the world are the need, they feel the need to please or prove themselves to people. And the biggest shift is what it sounds like to me is that you no longer feel a need to prove anything to anybody apart from yourself and to please yourself and to follow your sort of heart and intuition about where that goes, rather than doing things a bit like when you used to journal and you were writing down what you thought society wants you to write down. I need to still stay like this. It's because you was probably still in a mind frame of trying to please someone else or prove something to someone else. I must stay in the box, like you said. And we always say in TLDP, and before we even started the program this year, we said, if we can get people just to even put down those walls of proving and pleasing, that is the biggest block for anyone. So if we can see less of that, where everything's going to be okay.
Right.
And so, and I love that you've got sort of those two TLDP years to sort of draw on, because, and I didn't know you back then, but the way you're describing it in terms of that shift from that to like, because I know what you mean by I don't care. I know you don't mean that as in that's not a reckless I don't care. That is
Right.
I'm honoring
I
what I
truly don't care
do.
other than what's in here. The rest
Yeah,
of it, I could care less. This
yeah,
is what that's what I mean. I don't care except for what's in here.
yes. And that makes me sore. Like my heart is like, I can't stop smiling because I'm like, that is, we all search for that. And I dip in and out of it. I've been doing this work a long
Right.
time. I still dip in and out. But to hear the conviction in your voice and the confidence in your voice around that and the journaling and what's coming up. And if you have any questions about strengths, like I'm here to answer those. And
Yeah, I got some.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, let's do that. I just, I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but I can see it in your face. I can see it in your eyes. Like I'm so excited about where this is going for you.
Thank you. I am too, actually.
Yeah, I
Um,
can see.
okay, so here's
Okay.
my all right. So strengths. So again, this is from a couple years ago. I didn't take it again because I know Helen talks about like our strengths are our strengths. 2 years isn't going to make much difference at all. So um, my question for you is, because you've been doing this a lot longer than me. So how did you consciously, once you became aware of what yours were,
Yeah.
how did you consciously deploy them?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because again, 2 years ago, I didn't necessarily, I'm aware of it. I got it right here. I mean, it's all in a 3-ring
Yeah.
binder and the whole thing. I didn't do much with it, if I'm being honest, but I also know that these are the kinds of things that come natural to us.
Yes.
However, I really want to like live in my strength. I want to really um, serve, support,
Hmm.
and what I'm best at, I want to help others with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, how did you deploy your strengths once you became aware of them, especially in the beginning? Like, it's not,
Yeah.
like, am I going to sit here with this book? You know what I mean? I know that's not
I know it's a
true,
lot. It's a
right?
lot of reading. It's a lot.
I know. So I'm
And
not going.
I'm not really one to sit there and read that much stuff. So
So I'm familiar with it. I've been, but I guess my question is for you specifically. How
yeah.
did you first start consciously deploying your strengths when you became aware of what they were?
Yeah. Yeah. So before I answer it, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So when you first found them out 2 years ago, and now you've reconnected with them again this time, when you let's just take the top 10 as the focus. When you look
Okay.
at your top 10, your futuristic, your relator, your focus, deliberative, activated, connectedness, belief, competition, significance, positivity. And I see so much of all of those in you. So I love strengths. Um, how did you feel about them when you first, like your first in terms of reactions or responses to them? And then why do you feel like you aren't activating them consciously?
Um, for the most part, I felt it was spot on. If I'm being honest, I mean, I
Yeah.
really felt like, it kind of summed me up pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that I guess to answer your second question, I don't know that I'm not unactivating them. I just want to consciously deploy them.
Got
Is
it.
that,
Yeah.
be aware
Okay. Yeah.
how to use it. Because I feel like if this is my strength, which I believe it is, I can use it to serve others. So how can I do that?
Got it.
And
So
that's my question.
yeah.
I don't necessarily think, because I'm sure I bring it. I just want to have more awareness of how to use it and how
Yeah.
to help this person after listening. How can I help them with my strengths? How can I support them using what I'm the best at?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, no, and great. Thank you for sort of like then bringing that next sort of layer to the question because um this is where strengths I think get really interesting as a coach and a leader for yourself as well. Because when I first got mine, I felt a bit allergic to mine because I was like, that can't be right. That can't be right. I think I had something like an achiever or executor or something way, 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 way down the bottom. And I was so upset. I was like, but I get things done. And I
Right.
like, I don't understand. But if someone says to me, sit down for 8 hours and do this and type this out, and you have to be in a bubble for 8 hours, I'm a mess. I
Right.
couldn't do it for 8 hours. So we can deploy all the things we have in the 34. I think a really good exercise that Jess mentioned yesterday on the call was to do the go down the list always, sometimes, and
Okay.
rarely.
Okay.
That's really good because when I realized that my activator or my execution was, was in the 30s. So I was a bit like, oh, I'm a bit annoyed by that.
Hmm.
When I realized I really don't enjoy doing that. But if I need to connect people, if I need to inspire someone to get something done, because I've got futuristic in mind too, and I know that's your number one. We've got a lot actually, we've got quite a few the same. So I know that I can inspire a vision, and I've got a lot of the relationship ones in mind too. I can find the people to come along to deploy the vision. I'm not probably going to be the one to sit there and do the nitty gritty. So when I started understanding the roles that each of them played for me when I'm at my best, it was so much easier to deploy because I didn't feel bad about not sitting there for 8 hours and doing it. Or the times I had to sit there for 8 hours, sure,
I mean,
I
you
guess.
did it, yeah, right. But it's not, you don't love it and you're not, it's not a strength.
Exactly. It might take me 10 hours where it might take Jess, who is an activator, it'll take her 2 because she truly sees joy and finds joy in it. Whereas I'll be like, okay, it's a hard slog, but I'll get there. So I'm happy to do it. But it drains my energy. It doesn't give me energy.
Right.
So, and one of the things, because I know you coach a lot of people as well. And so when you mentioned about serving others with your strengths, it's an interesting, the things that are important to you, because in terms of your values and things that we've talked about. So you've got like futuristic, let's just take futuristic and relator as the examples.
Okay.
You're futuristic, and that's in my top 5. I think it's my number 1 or 2 as well, actually, is we see the future. We see what other people can't see.
Mhm.
And we kind of know how to get there because it's just like some people are very day to day people,
Mhm.
and then some people visionaries, and you're a visionary. So if you're dealing with someone in your team and you've set some goals for your whole business, and so you're trying to like sell this, or not even sell, but you're telling them about this vision. This is where the business is going to go, and we all have to work together because you're connectedness and a relator, and you can relate to people and connect so easily. That stuff comes very, very naturally to you. If you're dealing with a person that is more in the executor
Mhm.
bucket, and you try and just tell them about the vision, the vision, the vision, this is how we're going to get there, the vision, they might not hear it the same way,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So when your question was about how do I deploy as a leader, like how do I deploy to serve better? One of the ways I think is wonderful to do that is to find out their strengths too.
Okay.
Because then when we see, even if it's just their top 5, because if you see what their top 5 is, if you've got someone, let's do 2 different examples. If you've got someone that's a day-to-day activator, and then you've got someone that's high in relationship building, you'll instinctively go into that conversation talking about the vision. And this is where we're going, everybody. And you have activated too. So you're like, this is how we're going to get there. And so for someone who's high in activator, you're going to need to explain more or ask some questions about what are the tools that you need to get things done day to day to get us where we need to go. Because they'll be high activator. You've got a really beautiful mix. So you'll be able to tap into relationships, the strategic thinking, you'll be able to tap into all of it. So as a leader, like nothing's right or wrong, right? You could have
Right.
it all in one or across, but you've got a really beautiful mix that you can draw in a lot of different places. So if you've then got someone that's more higher in relationship, you're going to sell the vision. You've still got the to do bits, but you can say to that person, who do you think we need to connect with, or how do you, who do you think we need to really make this fly?
Okay.
Because they will be high in relationship. Does that make sense? Am I
Yeah.
making sense? Yeah.
So
So
could I give an example? I just so
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
understanding. So with somebody that's high relationship, like we could show them the vision and wouldn't it be great if we could go to Cancun together? Like think about that in a year, we can go to Cancun together. You know, like is that something along those lines? Is that what you're speaking of? I mean,
Yeah. So because they're gonna relationship people, if they've got things like includer, connectedness, all the strengths that are in sort of the relationship building
right, right.
section, if they've got a lot of those, they will be they will be doing it. They're motivated more by the idea of the team coming together because it's all about people. They want to be
Right.
around people, they want to serve people by talking and connecting and being in presence and all definitely.
Okay.
If you've got someone in high executor, which is the bucket of strengths that I think that has activator, it's got, let me have a quick look.
Yeah, I have it here somewhere.
Arranger, consistency, discipline, focus, those ones there,
Right. Okay.
they want to know what the tasks are to get there.
Right.
They want to know, what do I have to do? And they might need it spelt out a bit more because they need the to-do list.
They're not inspired by vision as much as stuff,
Yeah,
a list of things.
exactly. Because they'll be like, okay, good, we're working towards that. So they'll be like, okay, I like to know where I'm going, but I need to know what I have to do to get there. I need the day-to-day checklist.
Okay.
Whereas someone that's more in influencing, they'll be all about the vision.
Right. And then us
They'll
putting it together and all the people we can, like, once we get done and accomplish
Yeah.
our goal,
Imagine what we can do
look
when
at
we
what
get
we'll do together.
yeah,
Yeah.
imagine this big vision coming to life. Like imagine what we could achieve. Imagine how many more people we can help.
Right.
Imagine other cities we can go into. Imagine other products we can put forward. Imagine so the influencers will really love to help with the ideas and the how do you bring that to life? Because they'll want to influence the change.
Okay.
And the way you do it, you're always going to have, because you've got some really beautiful things. So always dig in because that vision, like you can see things people can't see. Right. So
Right.
that one of your strengths is really digging in and leaning in to all of those factors. And there's some really, really good resources on the Gallup website, some
Okay.
videos. So definitely dive into those. They're really, really helpful in terms of
Have you read the book that Helen recommended?
the Strength Finders book.
The other one, the something the leader. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can't remember the name of that. Yeah, I have. It was a little while ago actually, but I have
Okay.
read that one.
Okay. I was just curious.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you reading that or you've read that one?
No, I'm not. I haven't read either one.
Yeah.
But if I had to start with one, which one would you recommend?
Oh, they're both very, very good. I think it depends where you want to begin, right? Because if you want to, because we've just done the strengths, if you want to understand, I think the difference is, if my memory serves me, the difference, so the strength one's going to be a bit more practical,
Right.
right? It's going to be a little bit more forthcoming in terms of these are your strengths and these are the nuances of the strengths and these are the blind spots because every strength has a balancing shadow.
Right.
Um, the other one, the leadership version, is about how, well, I suppose how to deploy it in a leadership situation and setting, working with other people's strengths at the same time.
But no, kind of knowing their strength because we don't always know everybody's strengths, right?
Yeah. And so I think one of the things that I always encourage is if you have anyone in your team doing TLDP, or even if they're not doing TLDP, because you can get the book, the strengths book you can buy online and that comes with a code. So if you're some
Take
of
the
your,
test.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Or the
But
night.
if your team do want to do it, they don't need TLDP to do it. But because you're going through the process, and we can talk about strengths as well next time we catch up because it starts getting into the relational
Right, with the
section.
TLDP stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they will continuously come up, especially when we talk about, people being on kind of different planets and people having different thought processes for things. It's really helpful to understand their strengths because, like we just talked about, the language that they hear will be different. Because you can inspire a vision, but talk about it in a day to day task way.
Right.
Activators will hear that differently than if we're just selling a vision. Same as the relationship people, they need to hear about people in relation to the vision to want to go there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if your team or if any of your team are in TLDP, I would almost suggest like, hey guys, what do you think that we all share our strengths, our top 5 even with each other or top 10 with each other so we can start to learn how we can communicate better as a team.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Uh, does that make sense? Have I answered some of your questions? Because
Yeah, yeah, you
by
did.
all means, between now and the next time we meet, I can send you my email
I
address.
think you did. If you just
I
said
did, didn't I? Yeah. Um, email me anytime if you've got a question about the strengths, or not even just strengths, just anything at all.
okay.
Um, please do email me because I know that these half an hours go fucking far too quickly. So if you do have a question about them, or Steph, how do I do this? Or one of my team members is this strength. Like, how do I get around this question I need to ask them? Or it's a bit sensitive. How do I do that? By all means, please just email me anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Rob, I'm so excited for us.
So we then I'm gonna guess like it's another month, like 4 weeks, and we'll schedule again.
Yeah, I kept saying it was week beginning the 25th, but apparently it's week beginning the 28th because that's the Monday. So that does make sense.
Oh, of June.
June. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like there's a bit too much, no, not too much time because I know they're all designed very perfectly. But if you do have a question, do certainly email me
Okay.
so
And
we can.
I watched it again a couple days ago just to make sure I,
Great.
was doing everything we talked about because sometimes I mean, though we take notes, I may forget. Okay. So,
Oh, amazing. Oh, thank you. But
okay.
please don't ever shy away from reaching out for strength, whether it's strengths or something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Stephanie. Thank you
Great.
for your
Oh,
help.
my pleasure. Say hi to your wife for me.
I
And
will
yeah, looking forward to next time. So you can already pop into the portal and book the next time.
go ahead and schedule it. Okay. Awesome. All right.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Have a
Bye.
good day. Bye bye.